bring you some breaking news. Al Jazeera sources say that there are negotiations going on right now, mediated by Qatar, on a ceasefire and prisoner exchange deal. That would be a deal for an exchange of prisoners between Hamas and Israel. Ibrahim Freyhat is Associate Professor of Conflict Resolution at the Doha Institute. It's good to have you with us on set to discuss this. If this happens, still a big if at this stage, negotiations ongoing, but if this happens, it would obviously be major.
It will be a huge breakthrough, depending, however, on the terms of the ceasefire and for how long. Is it going to be a humanitarian ceasefire? Is it going to be a temporary ceasefire? Is it going to be an end of this war? So this we don't know yet, and we don't have any of that. What we know, however...
I'll add a little something. These negotiations can be characterized right now. We have to be careful with the words we use based on the sourcing and everything, but they can be described as progressing. The negotiations are progressing, and they're currently at an advanced stage.
Exactly. No matter what the terms are, it's still a huge breakthrough because we know that there has been a very strong Israeli rejection to any sort of ceasefire, even a humanitarian ceasefire. Even the international community, the European Union, yesterday in the meeting was calling for a humanitarian ceasefire, and they were a bit shy of even saying this. So there isn't any serious pressure on Israel from the European Union.
And we know that the U.S. has said several days now that a ceasefire, in their view, would benefit Hamas, and that's why the U.S. has been against one.
Exactly. But nevertheless, Israel, the United States also, they're so concerned about the issue of the prisoners or the arrested Israelis with Hamas.
Yes.
And this is an important factor for the domestic level in the United States. And that's, let's keep in mind that...
Domestic
Biden,
in the U.S. and in Israel.
Yes, exactly. And let's keep in mind that the U.S. administration, Biden is approaching a new election soon. So this is the domestic factor is very crucial as for the United States. So there has been some pressure from the U.S. on Israel to delay the ground operation in order to release the hostages on that level. But and we have seen some of that impact, actually, though we don't know the real reasons why Israel has not been conducting the ground operations yet. One of the explanations that they're scared of the results of what this will happen and the impact on, the Israeli domestic level for the Israeli government. But,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but again, let's keep in mind that this is an important development. This is a huge breakthrough, even for a short term. But then we need to know if this is going to continue to be a temporary. It's not going to benefit Hamas a lot. It's going actually to benefit the U.S. and it's going to benefit Israel, because this will give Israel a free hand is to conduct more ground operations or for a long time.
Well, there are two things, right, that are being discussed. One is the ceasefire, one is a potential prisoner exchange. Now, the ceasefire, we would have to know, and we don't at this stage, whether, again, it's temporary or permanent. Would it be the first step towards ending the bombardment and then some resolution to this conflict? That we just don't know. That's still a question mark. The other thing that is being discussed is a potential prisoner exchange. Again, there's a lot of information we don't have, but there's a lot of context that's important and that we do have. After Hamas carried out its operation on October 7th, there were statements from Hamas saying we have enough captives to free all the Palestinians in Israeli jails. We know that, these things have happened before with Gilad Shalit. He was held captive for 5 years. And when he was an Israeli soldier, Gilad Shalit, when he was released, he was released in exchange for more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners.
Yeah. I think it's, in my own analysis, it's still early to talk about a prisoners exchange, because this is going to take a long time. There are approximately 6,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jail. So Hamas announced many times that the time is not ripe now for a prisoners exchange, and no prisoners exchange will happen before the end of the Israeli war on Gaza. So
that's why these two things are linked: the ceasefire and the talks about the prisoner exchange.
So I think we are talking probably more likely on some sort of an exchange with the civilian hostages with Hamas, because there are two types of hostages with Hamas: civilians and military. So and there is high-ranked Israeli military officials are captives with Hamas at the moment also. So probably at this moment we are talking about ceasefire and along with the civilians hostages with Hamas more than a total prisoners exchange, because this would still be a huge step, and Israel has many vetoes on releasing, Palestinian prisoners, for the number of like 6,000 prisoners. So again, let's hope that there is going to be a ceasefire. It's not going to be temporary, and it's going to take some time, for this, that something can be built on. Even if it's temporary, again, I think it's still a great progress, because something can be built on later. And also, let's keep in mind that the developments in the region are not helping the United States. So there are some sort of developments, instability taking place in Syria, in Iraq, against American targets.
Oh, you think the wider regional context is something that might play into these negotiations?
Of course. Okay. This is the major pressure point on the U.S. administration, that the U.S. administration made it so clear from day one, does not have time for that. U.S. larger agenda is Ukraine, Russia, China. It's not this war. No. And for that reason, the U.S. finding itself is being pulled into this.
Right. They felt compelled to send 2 aircraft carriers.
Exactly.
Just going to remind our viewers of this information on Al Jazeera, that there are negotiations going on right now at an advanced level, mediated by Qatar, this on a ceasefire in Gaza and a potential exchange deal for prisoners between Hamas and Israel. That's what we can report at this hour. It is 13:21.